Good evening. Rail passengers have been holding an angry protest against the ongoing disruption on southern trains and have told ITV Meridian they fear the service is unsafe. They say so many trains have been cancelled through staff sickness and strikes that the ones running are packed beyond capacity and dangerous. Tonight, Southern admitted that trains were badly overcrowded, but insisted passenger safety was not at risk. Our transport correspondent Mike Pearce reports.
What do we want? Trains! What do we want it? Now!
For commuters, the daily cancellations and delays have reached boiling point. At Brighton last night, they made their anger clear on the station concourse. It came just hours after a new strike was called for next Tuesday.
Every day trains are cancelled, delayed, passengers are rammed onto overcrowded services. I'm 6 months pregnant and it's dangerous.
It's just been ridiculous. Yesterday it took me 3 hours to get from Twickenham to Preston Park. Today I was on a train that should have had 12 carriages and had 4. I was pressed against the door with no space to speak of, not even to look at a book or anything. And the fact they're striking is ridiculous, because if I didn't show up to work, I'd be sacked, I'd be out of a job.
I sympathise with the staff because I think the staff are being treated really badly by Southern. It's very difficult. It's obviously the staff have been kind of working to rule and sickness. That means it's hard for us to get to work.
Southern say high numbers of staff are going sick following the recent strikes over drivers closing train doors. The RMT say the company don't employ enough staff and the move will put passenger safety at risk. Today they held a protest in London.
We have made offers to them that give them additional value, that give them a better operating cost than the one that their proposals currently give them. We have bent over backwards and we really have given as much as we can, and it's just been chucked back in our face. That is the honest truth. I've done things that I would not have contemplated a couple of years ago. Absolutely, just to try and find a way through this. So if anyone says that we have just regurgitated the same old nonsense, it's not true.
My message for trades unions is please get back round the table, please talk to us sensibly about these changes because they're good for customers and they're good for our staff.
Meanwhile, Southern say they'll impose its new policy from August and have condemned next week's strike. Mike Pearce, ITV News, London.
A search has been taking place all day for a missing climber in Dorset. The alarm was raised after the 26-year-old man from Southampton failed to return home following a day trip to Swanage. Some of his equipment has been located. Meanwhile, police looking for a missing 13-year-old girl from Dorset have found a body. Tonight they've confirmed it is that of Sophie Clark, who was last seen in Sherborne yesterday evening after telling her parents she was going for a walk. Officers say they are not treating her death as suspicious. A man found dead at a flat in Ryde on the Isle of Wight had been stabbed, a post-mortem examination has shown. Jolien Ray, who was 46, died on Monday in the property in East Hill Road. Police are still questioning a 53-year-old woman. 7 MPs in the South are among 57 Conservatives who've hit out at the Chancellor over next week's EU referendum. George Osborne says if we vote to leave, he will bring in an emergency budget involving tax rises and cuts to services. But 7 MPs from our region are among those who say they would vote against the move. Among them, Christchurch MP Christopher Chope.
I'm looking forward to the British people giving me the opportunity to vote against the vindictive emergency budget. Will my right honourable friend explain that if the government is so strapped for cash, why is it still intent on spending £50 billion on HS2?
Yeah.
Prime Minister.
The point is that we will be strapped for cash if you believe the Institute for Fiscal Studies or the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, both impeccably independent, who say there'd be a hole in our public finances of between 20 and 40 billion. Now, there's an easy way to avoid getting into that situation, and that is to vote to stay in a reformed European Union next Thursday.
Meanwhile, many young people remain undecided over which way to vote. Nasrin Issa has been to meet some of them.
Hello, welcome to MJ Allen. Hello. If you'd like to follow me and we'll show you around.
Tim Allen takes Cameron, Tamana, Sidonia and our ITV crew on a tour of his engineering business. His father started this company in 1958. Tim is hoping to show the youngsters why pulling out of Europe would be bad for business.
So this is an example of the sort of product that we sell directly into Europe. Our customer in this case is in Holland. and it's as easy for me to sell a product like this into Holland as it would be into the north of England. And anything that would make that more difficult is going to put me at a commercial disadvantage with competitors that I might have in Poland or Czechoslovakia.
A staff of 250, including young apprentices, invent and make bespoke parts.
How do you think it would affect young people if we was to leave the EU?
If businesses like me aren't able to sell us freely into Europe, then we would lose the ability to employ so many people. So I worry that there would be an impact on youngsters' employment prospects here, and also that ability to work anywhere they like across Europe.
Having heard one side of the debate, we travel to another family business with a very different view. CEO Emma Pullen leads us through her workshop, which employs 15 people. Since opening in 2008, the team here has manufactured and sold more than 1,000 hovercraft. Their biggest customer is the US, but selling within the EU is hard work.
You sell hovercrafts all around the world. How will this really impact you leaving the EU?
So, if we remain in the EU, nothing will change for me at all. If anything, things will become more and more complicated because I don't believe the EU is finished regulating on stuff that it likes to regulate on. I want to start trading with the emerging nations around the world. I've lost deals because we haven't been able to trade with certain countries because of trade tariffs that haven't been agreed through the EU yet. We're a nation of entrepreneurs, and it stifles small businesses being in the EU. And I want all of you to have the opportunity to start your own businesses if you want to, and not feel these heavy shackles of the EU.
Last stop on the journey, somewhere to digest what we've heard. Has today helped you make up your mind as to how you're going to vote?
I think I'm almost certain on my opinion, and I think it is that I still want to remain in the EU.
When we left the first one, I was like, yeah, definitely voting to stay. But then when we left the second one, I was back to where I was at the beginning.
I've learned a lot today and I'm very much undecided. However, I'm still leaning towards the Remain side.
The vote next week could be the most important decision the British public will make in a generation. But it's this young generation which will have the longest to live with the consequences of the decision they make. Nashonissa, ITV News.
Almost 200 drivers have been caught breaking the law during a 5-day police crackdown on motorways in Hampshire. 147 motorists were caught using their mobile phones at the wheel. One driver was even caught reading a book while driving on the M271 near Southampton. Traffic police used an unmarked lorry so officers could see down onto drivers. Dog owners are asked to be vigilant against the deadly disease Alabama rot after a number of cases across Sussex, Surrey and Hampshire. A total of 78 dogs have been confirmed with the disease nationwide since 2012, with 14 in the first 4 months of 2016. Lecturers at Sussex University walked out on strike today in a national dispute over pay and conditions. Members of the University and College Union set up a picket line at the Falmer campus. They've rejected a pay award of 1.1%, which their employers describe as a very good offer.
Any industrial action at a university or in education obviously has an impact for the students. I think what I'd like to say to the students and the parents themselves is that what we are doing is we are undertaking this dispute for their benefit. At a time when students are taking and paying more and more money for their education, they are being taught by educators who are on more and more precarious and insecure contracts. At a time when we have to worry about whether we keep our jobs, we're being asked to provide a better and better education for students.
Well, finally, the Premier League fixtures for next season have been published, and Bournemouth have an exciting start against Manchester United. It'll be Jose Mourinho's first competitive match in charge. Southampton's new manager, whoever that might be, will play Watford at home. Well, let's take a look at the all-important weather forecast now with all your details. Here's Helen.
From cold fronts to camping, driving through Europe, Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello there, very good evening to you. Well, not bad evening sunshine today, but that said, the unpredictable nature of the weather continues. So through the evening, 1 or 2 showers around. If anything, they fizzle out over the coming hours though, but still some mist and murk left behind and another mild, stuffy, sticky night to contend with. But first thing tomorrow morning, well, it's not a bad start at all. A fair amount of brightness around, but into the afternoon, well, more in the way of showers starting to clip in. Some of those once again on the heavy side, potentially thundery, and could well cause some disruption, but they'll be pretty hit and miss at the same time. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, thanks very much indeed, Helen. That's how it looks this Wednesday evening. We'll be back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow. Do join Amanda Piper if you can. But from everyone here on the Late Team, have a very good night. Bye-bye.